Support the dreadlocks. The very famous Jill Scott once said, "For me, hair is jewelry and it's my accessory." So hair comes in all different shapes, sizes, and colors, as you guys know. But recently, corporate America has been neglecting dreadlocks. I found this really interesting because I couldn't think of a speech topic, and then I saw this trending on Twitter, and I thought I just had to do it. So, in the news, Huffington Post actually posted about how this woman couldn't get a job because of her dreadlocks. So this headline, and I was like, oh, I have to see this. So pretty much the story about her is she's applied for a job in Mobile, Alabama at this company called CMS Catastrophe Management. It's an insurance claim company, and she possessed all the criteria for the job. She met every requirement that they needed, and she actually went through the whole interview process. And by the time she got to the end, she met with the human resources rep, and she was asked a couple questions, like, oh, your dreads, you have them, they tend to get messy, like, what do you do about that? And she didn't really have a response for that because she had never been asked about her dreads before. And they pretty much concluded, we'll give you the job if you'll cut your dreads off. And she obviously was not willing to comply. I mean, it's her form of creativity expression, so they rescinded her job offer. So immediately after this, she filed for a lawsuit. And pretty much CMS said that their policy is race neutral because this can be seen as a civil acts type of lawsuit. And if you look in Title VII of the Civil Acts Right and the Equal Opportunity Employment documents, it pretty much says that you can only sue if it's an immutable characteristic. And CMS said that her hair was a cultural characteristic, so it was by choice that she dreaded her hair. This case is really important because you guys probably don't understand the meaning of dreads, so I'm just going to kind of break it down for you guys a little bit. So dreads date all the way back to the Old Testament, and you first see it with Samson and Delilah in Judges, and it's pretty much Delilah talking to Samson, and she's talking about, the 7 locks of a man is rooted with his wisdom. So the biblical sense of dreads actually means wisdom, and this later manifests into a bigger movement. So, as you guys are probably familiar with Rastafarianism, it originated in the 1930s in Ethiopia by a guy named Ras Tafari. He was an emperor, and pretty much he was being exiled, and his soldiers, as a stand-up for solitude for him, they refused to cut their hair and let it dread up. And for this, it was seen as a rebellious act, but it was really more of that they had this great emperor and they didn't want him to leave. Then we later see, so this is Rastafari. Then this is probably where you guys know Bob Marley from. And so it became a movement in Jamaica with the help of Bob Marley, and pretty much, So Bob Marley helped her dreads as a sign of Black pride, nationalism, and socialism. So this was a bigger movement. And, dreads are a very versatile look for African Americans. Predominantly the hair is coarser and more of like an afro-like. And there's not very many things you can do with it in a natural state, but dreads have manifested into one of the easiest hairstyles for African Americans. So that's why it's lately become so popular in media. So dreads can evolve into different forms. It starts as an afro. It makes it to the twist phase. Most people might stay in the twist phase, but usually if you stop taking care of the twist, they'll turn it into dreads. So that's kind of how it starts. And I found this really interesting because every time I looked up dreads online, it was always somebody that was in the media. It was never just a normal person in the corporate world. It's always an entertainer, an actor, a singer, someone in that sort, like an athlete. And it's never just seen as like a casual style, it's seen as a fashion statement. And for most people using dreads, it's not even that. It's like crazy. What's the difference between Brianna, who actually her locks are fake, they're called fox locks, they're not even real, she just did it as a fashion statement, versus somebody who's been growing them for 10, 15, 20 years, and this is like a business look for her. She has her suit on, this could possibly be her business card, and she wouldn't be taken seriously in the work world as of right now. So just some couple examples of how dreads don't hinder success. I want to start with Richard Sherman. He plays in the NFL for the Seahawks right now, and he actually graduated from Stanford University. So that just goes to show that dreads is not a correlate with one's success or knowledge. And then one of our favorites probably, Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg is iconic for, I'd say, maybe our parents' generation. He's sold over 23 million hits just nationwide. Like, that's not even worldwide. And he's also a loving father to his beautiful 3 kids, and he's a husband and also a very successful businessman. So, I wanted to get some personal insight from my dad, who's also a dreadhead. And so he's gone through like ups and downs with it. Initially, he had dreads for 10 years. Also, this is my little sister. She also wants dreads, but she hasn't started yet. And he actually cut them off when we moved to California because he couldn't find a job. And this is just like perfect tied into what I'm talking about. So I asked him, why did you have dreads? Like, what did it mean for you? And he quoted, "They're a symbol of the original man and my stance as a proud black man. I wear it to express my freedom and to be an individual, and I'm showing society that image doesn't make character. I'm black and proud, and Christ has hair of wool and skin, and I'm merely living his image." So that was very powerful to me because that could be your uncle, your cousin, your mom, your sister, someone who has dreads. And having a job in this day and age is so important if you're trying to support your family or yourself. And for your hair to be a deterrent of what kind of job you're getting says like a lot about corporate America and how they have these social norms that work, and if you don't fit into it, you just don't get a job. So my dad actually just recently got dreads back, so this is the most recent picture of him. And I asked him about that, so what made you get it again? And he said that, he quoted, "I was selling myself short of the man that I am for a job." And he said, "I vowed to never cut them again because this is a symbol of who I am, and I worked so hard to grow them and to cut off all the memories that came with it." So I couldn't actually find a petition for dreads just about corporate jobs in America, but I did find this petition, which was really interesting. It's pretty much that Congress is not acknowledging women in the workforce with dreads. So this specifically is in the Air Force, and they're saying that black women having dreads means that they're not capable or literate, or that they can't even do the bigger jobs in the actual Air Force. So I was wondering if you guys could help me take a stand. I've already signed up. You just sign your first and last name and maybe a little message about how you feel that this shouldn't be this way, and that maybe we should be more open and hip to dreads. We're in a day and age where trends are moving very fast, whether it be clothes or hair, and we need to stay hip to these things. And I think that your hair will never define your success, and it's different if you have like color in your hair or you have some kind of choppy haircut, but just having your dreads free-flowing, that's the way you are. That's a part of who you are, and for a job to not let you have that is very interesting. So I just want you guys to be aware of this issue and not discriminate in the workplace, because one day you're going to be an employer or an employee, and this could even be you with dreads or someone that you know, and you don't want this to be a deterring factor for them.